Hi, I'm Hubbard Smith. I am the founder and CEO of i4Ops. We are a data security company. And quite simply, we prevent data breaches. And why this matters to those of you who may not be cybersecurity companies, but are digital innovation companies, is that preventing data breaches enables safe, data-driven innovation. And I'll explain the dynamics in business terms, why this matters, and how we prevent it. So let's talk about business innovation and technology. I'll call your attention to the lower left-hand corner. We get a lot of news about the top part of the iceberg above the water, which is ChatGPT and all of that. And I lovingly refer to that as business to consumer AI. So really, at the end of the day, they're trying to be a better Google. Now, they do more than that. Credit where credit's due. I use this stuff every day. But the point of this presentation is the iceberg below the waterline, which is applied AI and applied machine learning for business innovation and what it's going to take to get those things adopted. First, we've got to know what the problem is. And second, we've got to know what the headwinds to adoption are. And third, we've got to prevent them. We've got to address the headwinds and thereby accelerate the adoption of business to business AI and machine learning. So let's walk through a couple of really easy, straightforward examples. AI and machine learning for customer churn. I, a minute ago, did a project about AI, and it was involved with a logistics company. They wanted to fix their customer churn problem. It involved sensitive data. Their CISO asked me, what keeps my data from walking away? I found no answer to that problem, so I invented one. But suffice it to say that pretty much every company has customers, and therefore pretty much every company is going to have customer churn. So customer churn is an important vector. That's a really straightforward kind of AI machine learning problem to solve. It's always going to involve business data. It's always going to involve sensitive data. And there is a lot of upsides for companies that can reduce customer churn. That business that I mentioned a minute ago was roughly $1 billion company. They had roughly 20% annual customer churn. So back of the envelope, that's a $200 million hole they dig for themselves every year. Okay, so if we can reduce that by some meaningful percentage, 10%, that's a $20 million problem we're solving for them, observably. An echo of the same is moving to the AI machine learning for hospitality and travel. If you look at the lawsuits and the public data breaches, hospitality and travel top that list. So, the big name hotels, the big name carriers, the big name digital hospitality titles all have suffered public data breaches. These cause serious financial damage. They cause serious legal damage. And again, it's the bottom part of that iceberg that is of interest. Reducing or eliminating those problems is of real value. If we reduce a $200 million problem by 10%, that's a $20 million value that your business innovation company is delivering to a potential customer. The next one is electrical utilities, classic supply and demand. So you have supply, which is exhibited by electrical generation, electrical transmission, electrical distribution, and you have demand enumerated by electrical power consumption, populations, factories. Populations and factories are dynamic. They come and go. They move all the time. So the AI machine learning for electrical utilities is a classic design problem for logistics. I mentioned supply logistics. So that can be anything from high value aircraft parts to farm to table, to agriculture, to garments. And there are a lot of shifting sands in this area. This whole area is shifted, particularly the garment stuff is shifted toward Vietnam and India. All of these are classic supply logistics, supply and demand types of problems. And the lastly is my favorite. I've spent a lot of years in the tech business. I worked for some of the big names. Supply and demand for silicon, for systems, and for logistics is bread and butter for these companies. And they can and they should innovate. If they don't innovate, they're at risk of becoming obsolete. And I'll tell you more about that toward the end. So we now have a framing of business innovation, the bottom part of that glacier. Now let's talk about the ingredients. We're going to start to disassemble this problem minute by minute. So first, we know that business innovation requires data. And second, we know that business innovation requires tech talent. There has to be some human beings that are smart enough to put together a system that involves data cleansing, that involves some sort of machine learning or AI training to create the inference model to be used by those business users. The primary blockers to adoption of all of this is risk avoidance. And what this risk avoidance means is we see data gatekeeping. So there'll be CISOs and corner office people who will say, yeah, we have data, but we're not going to expose that to anybody because it's too sensitive. We cannot risk it getting out. That's pretty reasonable, except that it prevents innovation. An echo of the same problem is tech talent. So if you're dealing with sensitive data, oftentimes a Band-Aid will be, we have to have tech talent in the office. Okay, not a bad remedy, but what that means is your tech talent has to be commuting distance within said office. I'm here to let you know that good tech talent is available worldwide. If you're restricting your tech talent to commuting distance to any given office, you've reduced your available talent pool by, pick a number, 98%. But this risk avoidance, none of us like this, but the risk avoidance is for a good reason. The notion of data breach is a real problem at the corner office, the C-suite, and at the boardroom. Data theft is literally daily news. And the thing that I keep coming back to is that you see these big ones. Indonesian SIM cards lost well north of 1 million, tens of millions of users. That's, again, to go back to my metaphor, tip of the iceberg. These are the ones we know about. There are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of data breaches that happen that are never discovered, are never reported, never even really make it onto our radar, even if they are reported, because they're so small in comparison to these great big ones. So it is a safe claim to make that data theft is data news. Risk avoidance is for good reason. And most importantly, business innovation thrives when data theft is prevented. And that's what this whole summary is about, is to enable that bottom part of the iceberg for AI and machine learning business innovation with sensitive data, with contractors. So digging in a little more, let's talk about the essence of these data breaches. Employees make mistakes. They are hired and fired. That happens. Lifetime employment is no longer a thing. Employees regrettably find a reason to be mad. Sometimes that results in data stealing and data selling and other things. People can be and are coin operated, regrettably. The central point here is these always involve a credential login. Contractors, ditto. Contractors can make a mistake. They can email something by mistake. They obviously come and go. That's why they're contractors. Increasingly, our workforce is made from contractors. Contractors, regrettably, can be angered and they can be coin operated. So the data can indeed walk away. Common element is credentials, login credentials. Third party. Increasingly, we share data with third parties. They too can make a mistake. They too can come and go. They too can be angry or coin operated. Common denominator is a credential login and access to the data. Cloud credentials, also commonly cited as a root cause for data breaches. The Snowflake demo, which I'm sure most of you know about, the root cause of that was a stale demo account. It was credentials. Somebody found that stale demo account and then injected data stealing malware and then took some data. That data was LiveNation, Taylor Swift tickets. That data was Advanced Auto Parts. That data was Neiman Marcus. That data was Satinder Bank. That data was subsequently sold. So, which brings me to the final bullet, which is the new model of cybercrime. So, ransomware is a thing, and it'll continue to be a thing. But the new model of cybercrime is simply, let's get some credentials. Let's buy a list of credentials, of logins. Let's fish for some stuff. Let's scrape for some stuff, but let's get a login. And by logging in, we bypass all of that expensive security. You literally get access to data at in use. And I'll talk more about the notion of data in use here in a minute. But this frames up a problem for us that says we will prevent data threat, including credentialed access. And that's the critical gap that has been unaddressed for, I don't know, a decade or two, is credentialed access. So let's dive into problem solving. We took a first principles approach to data security, and we used this problem statement, preventing data threat, including credentialed access, is the driving force. First principles means that you challenge all of the assumptions, you break a problem down into its atomic pieces that cannot be split any further. And so that's what we did. So going back to the prevent data threat, including credentialed access, we noted at a high level, data in motion going down a network is encrypted. If it's business data, it is vanishingly rare that it is not. It must be encrypted. That's just table stakes. That's just the norm. It is vanishingly rare to find a cybersecurity incident involving brute force data decryption. It does happen, but it is vanishingly rare. Ditto for data at rest. If it's business data and if it's sitting on a disk or an SSD someplace, it is encrypted. Vanishingly rare to find somebody to take an encrypted data set and brute force decrypt it. Vanishingly rare. What is not vanishingly rare is data in use, meaning if I have credentials and I log in, then I can access that data. The crypto keys, the private key pair, simply say, Hubbard is the user. Here you go. Have some data. It's not encrypted. It's not safe. Which brings me back to the comment that hackers don't hack. They log in. They find a login, and then they upload data stealing malware. It is truly the new ransomware. Data stealing and then selling it on the dark web is first simple. It's automated. You can sort of fire it and forget it. It does not take any kind of massive skills. And it also does not involve personal criminal risk. The problem with malware is that you've got to collect the money, the Bitcoin or whatever, somehow, some way. And law enforcement knows how to track those breadcrumbs and make it so that they find you if you take that Bitcoin. So let's continue our journey in first principles of data security. The first thing that we challenged was, again, preventing data breach, including credentialed access, is we recognize that data security is a data storage problem. It is not a networking problem. So that is essential to what we have done, data storage. So what we have done is we keep the data in. We allow the data science, we allow the AI and the machine learning, but we control the outbound rights. That's a highly simplified assumptions of keeping the data in. Then the third simplifying assumption is we assumed everything is cloud native. We are not trying to secure, 1998 client server stuff. We can do cloud native. We do this all the time. So that's a gigantic simplifying assumption: is keep the data in the cloud. If you keep the data in the cloud with a secured environment, then you can't email it to yourself. You can't copy it onto a disk drive. You can't lose your laptop or have your laptop stolen, or there are a number of happy things that happen when you can assume that it's cloud native. Well, client servers going the way of the dodo. The fourth principle is about designing for adaptability. So is interesting and intellectually stimulating as the first three bullets are, they are useless without this whole thing being adoptable. So our first principles approach said we are going to use a easy button deployment. We want this to be repeatable, standardizable, and not bespoke, which is, by the way, one of the other chronic problems of our previous generation of legacy cybersecurity is it's always bespoke. Ours is not. And the fifth principle is we need to be able to prove it. And what we have done is we've written exfiltration tests. Our exfiltration tests pass. And exfiltration tests are quite literally the bookend of penetration tests. So we are in a position to prove our solution works, that our repeatable, non-bespoke, easy button deployable solution works. And then the last principle for adoptability is we do not interfere with other security. We recognize that there will be RBAC already in place, IAM already in place, firewalls, next generation firewalls, the list goes on. We don't interfere with that. This solution is a data storage solution within a cloud environment, and all of that other data stuff, that other networking stuff happens at the peripheral or outside of the cloud world. So let me compare it. Now, this is a great audience to do this comparison. Let me compare our easy button to something that's familiar, like Git. It's what we do is kind of like Git, except we do this for secure AI. So on the top part of the slide, you have a blue Git repo, a red Git repo, a green Git repo. You create those. It takes a couple of minutes. You set up the security, a couple of minutes. You invite some people, a couple of minutes. The key point here is that if you've invited these people, they can check out or clone your data. They can walk away with it. The difference in us is that we keep the data in the cloud. We run anywhere Kubernetes runs. We really prefer on-prem bare metal, but we can do cloud as well. But the solution is very much the same. You will use your easy button to create that blue project or that red project or that green project. Part of the easy button says, I'm going to allocate some secure storage. And then the next easy button says, I'm going to invite some folks. I'm going to invite some blue participants, some red participants, some green participants. Lovely. The difference is being that they do their work within this secure platform, and the data does not walk away. The data stays inside. So that's a reasonable comparison. This SUSECon is an open source emphasis type of a world, and I would be remiss if I did not give SUSE the appropriate credit. We are based on K3S. Really, this is one of the things that really enables us to do what we do. We are based on SUSE Longhorn. Again, this is a critical element of what we do, is the storage part of that. And without Longhorn, we'd have to write a whole bunch of code ourselves. So we rely on SUSE for this, and everything's green light. It works. Other open sources, we've written a boatload of Ansible easy button level stuff so that you can provide a host or multiple hosts. You can provide a network ID, an IP address, a user, an Ansible user login, and one or more storage volumes, and hit go, and it results in a working Kubernetes secured environment. Further, you can invite or uninvite people. Further, you can allow or disallow certain whitelist access. And then as far as open source goes, we contribute open source. We contribute our exfil test. We are contributing a compliance catalog open source project, including a policy, YAML-based policy. It's intentionally simple. We don't claim it to be all singing and all dancing, but it is middle of the bell curve. It is absolutely as simple as possible without being too simple. It includes data security log, embracing the concept that compliance requires you to have some sort of a data location. Okay, in our world, that's a data center, a server, a storage. So we compare the logs of the data security, the reality, the real situation, to the desired situation reflected in the policy. Also worth noting is we have created and published a CNCF compliance use case white paper. So this gives you an idea of who's using the compliance system, why they're using it, how they're using it. And hopefully this is relevant to your business efforts to assure your organization as well as your company, your customer's organization, that your data is safe. We prove that with exfiltration tests. So the next turn of the crank is, how do we put that to work? We have some headwinds and we have some tailwinds. The headwinds are the center column, which is you have risk aversion. Management wants to lock the data away. That's for good reasons. You have compliance pressure that results in additional risk aversion to secure your highest sensitivity data. And by the way, that high sensitivity data is the data that you need to innovate with. Nobody's going to innovate with your lunchroom menu. You're going to innovate with your customer list, your supply chain list, your financials. This is the essence of that business to business AI, business innovation, the bottom portion of that iceberg. I believe that the majority of the people at SUSECon have an opportunity to work in this space. And hopefully this is helping you understand and thereby eliminate headwinds. Lastly, there's more data to steal. Well, we collect up more data. Hackers don't hack, they log in. Customer churn, contractor churn, third-party churn, weak cloud credentials. These all allow that big swath of data, sensitive data, to be taken. Now on the right-hand side, the tailwinds are use your data. You can innovate. You can make your company better. Walmart did exactly this 25 years ago when they were using the early days of Teradata. They combined cash register receipts with supply logistics receipts, inbound inventory, and quite literally put Kmart out of business. They put Sears out of business because of data-driven innovation. I worked at NCR. I had my hands in that stuff. The next point is AI affordability. So back in the day with Walmart and Teradata, that was $1 million worth of hardware, a team of 70, very expensive software. Well, that's no longer the case anymore. You can buy a pretty damn decent platform, a piece of hardware for $5,000 that's pretty capable of AI. If you want to gang those up, you can buy 4 of them, $20,000. That's a very capable AI platform. The software is free. The training is free. The AI to write the software is free. So this is happening. Now, the only question is what are you going to do about the using of sensitive business innovation? You can lock it away, but you won't innovate. or you can innovate and face the risk of data breach, or you can use I4 ops. So our motion here is we keep the data in motion safe. Well, I should rephrase. Data in motion is already safe. Data at rest is already safe. We keep the data in use safe. So that's just an important takeaway. And we believe that we've solved one of the main data security problems in the industry today. So what we like to offer is, please, we suggest you start modestly, but start today. Please try I40 Exfil. It's the name of our product. It says exactly what it does, Zero Exfil. Try it on your infrastructure, with your data, with your team. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you don't like it, your money's back. Start modestly. Start with a low stakes data set. Ours is a project by project thing. It is not a secure the entire enterprise thing. So that's one of the big differences in what we've done, like a Git repository. So thank you. Please consider a trial. Here's my contact info. And I'd love to thank SUSE and SUSECon, lovely partners. They've been awesome to work with, and their tech products are second to none.